They forgot to invite me to Christmas, so I bought myself a mountain cabin. When they showed up with a locksmith to steal it from my sister, they thought I was alone. They had no idea I had a lawyer, cameras, and a deputy on my side. My name is Matt. I'm 31, a journalist, the older brother, the designated driver, the one who reads the fine print and shows up with jumper cables. In my family, that translates to background noise. Reliable, replaceable, not the headline. My sister Jessica is the star. She walks into a room and everyone lifts their chin like she brought the sun with her. I bring paper towels and a toolbox. I rent a modest one-bedroom. I keep my shoes by the door and my laptop is always charging. My work is deadlines and interviews and filing copy at 1:13 a.m. while the radiator knocks like a neighbor. I don't post much. I listen more than I talk. I assumed that counted for something. 2 weeks before Christmas, I was on the train home, headphones in, scrolling through a half-finished draft. The family group chat pinged, "Mom, can't wait to see everyone for Christmas at Jessica's. She's hosting. It'll be magical." 27 heart emojis from cousins. 2 gifts from Dad because he still can't tell which button is which. I waited for a follow-up. "Matt, can you bring ice? Or hope you can make it." Nothing. I watched the typing bubbles appear, disappear, then silence. I typed, "Should I be there on the 24th or the 25th? 3 minutes. 5. 10. Mom replied, "Oh, honey. We figured you'd be slammed with work and Jessica's place is tight. We'll do something with you later. Don't stress. It's easier this way." That sentence sat on my screen like a stain. It's easier this way. I stared out the train window. The glass held my reflection like a tired twin. I tried to let it pass like I always do. I tried to tell myself it's not personal. It's logistics. It's Mom being Mom. Then Jessica texted me privately, "No hard feelings, big bro. My oven's tiny. We'll hang after the holidays. Drinks on me." Smiley face. Across the aisle, a kid pressed his face to the glass and pointed at the first snow. I unlocked my phone again. Opened a link I'd saved months ago. A cabin listing in the mountains. Small, quiet, a slant of roof packed with white pines like centuries. I didn't message anyone about it. The next morning, I called the agent, not to buy it. Not yet, just to ask if the porch faced east and how old the stove was. He said the view would make a monk swear. I closed my eyes and saw it. A place where my name would be on the deed, not on a chore list. A door that opened for me first. I didn't tell a soul. I put my head down, finished my story, and waited for the snow to stick. If you ask my mom, she'll say I'm steady. If you ask my dad, he'll say I don't need much. That's their way of explaining why the spotlight has never once found me. Growing up, Jessica needed everything. Rides, fees, dresses, advice, applause. I supplied, not because I'm a saint, because if I didn't, I'd be reminded that family means stepping up. And somehow stepping up always meant stepping over myself. When we were teenagers, Jessica got a used Civic for her 17th. I got to take her to the DMV and wait 3 hours while Dad handled the call. When I landed my first internship at the paper, Dad said, "Unpaid, right? Good practice. You'll learn grit." When Jessica got a social media job writing captions for a boutique 3 days later, Mom posted 12 photos and called her our little wordsmith. I brought cupcakes to celebrate. Nobody took one home. This isn't bitterness. It's inventory. Numbers help me think straight. At 24, when my car died, I took the bus. At 24, when Jessica's fridge died, I paid for half because you make more sense with money. At 26, when I finally had a little cushion, Jessica and her boyfriend Brandon were between paychecks, and Mom asked if I could spot them just a little. It was $1,200. "Will Venmo next month?" Jessica said. Next month became after taxes. After taxes became when Brandon's startup launches. The launch has been any day now for 3 years. I never saw the money again. I saw the receipts, artisan chairs, a neon sign that said good vibes only, a weekend in Nashville because flights were cheap. I swallowed it. I told myself I'm older. I should help. I told myself the headlines never pick the steady ones, and that's fine. Then the little cuts stacked up. Jessica's birthday. I drove an hour to set up balloons and tape streamers while she got her nails done. Mine, we should plan something, text that never got a date. When I wrote a feature that actually did numbers, Dad said, "Careful with your opinions. Don't get political." When Brandon bragged about scaling a content pipeline, Dad clapped like he'd discovered fire. Thanksgiving was the rehearsal for Christmas. I arrived with pie and a bottle I couldn't really afford. Jessica showed up late, no dish, with a story about how the butcher messed up the cut she wanted. Mom said, "She's had a week, be kind." I carved the turkey while Dad filmed Jessica tasting her own gravy and saying, chef's kiss, for Instagram. After dinner, Mom cornered me by the trash bags. "Honey, can you look at Jessica's budget? They're drowning. Maybe you could help with December rent. You know how expensive everything is." I said, "Mom, I already helped with the fridge and the Nashville trip and the time their dog needed surgery and they forgot their wallet at brunch." She waved it off. "You're smart with money. They're not. That's why families balance each other." I said nothing because the words in my chest were not fit for holiday decor. 2 days later, Dad called. "No hello. Jessica tells me you sound intense. Don't take it out on her. She's carrying a lot." I asked, "What am I carrying?" He said, "You're fine, Matt. You're solid. You don't need much." That line again. You don't need much. As if needing less is a reason to be given nothing. I kept count, not to throw in their faces, to keep myself honest. $1,200, $300, $75, $640, 3 rides to the airport, 2 weekends of free dog sitting, 7 hours assembling a bed frame while Brandon researched growth hacks. Jessica's tone changed around money. Casual at first, "You're the best, big bro." Then assumed, "You can cover it, right?" Then entitled, "You know we'll pay you back." The last time she said that, she added, "You don't even notice $300. I noticed. Still, I did the thing I always do. I nodded. I told myself it would get better if I stayed calm. I tried to be water. The problem with being water is people keep mistaking you for a mop. The week of the Christmas text, I was already bruised from the small stuff. "It's easier this way" wasn't just about chairs and oven space. It was about where I fit, on the margins, off the invite. Utility, not guest. So, I did the strangest thing I've done in years. I looked for something that was just mine. The cabin wasn't a whim. I'd been saving for years, cutting corners, taking extra assignments. I knew my numbers. The place was modest, a 2-bedroom square with a pitched roof and a stubborn stove that needed coaxing. The porch faced east. The nearest neighbor was a half-mile of pines away. The agent warned me about snow drifts and a septic tank past its prime. I said, "Send me the inspection. I'll read every line." I drove up on a Tuesday. The road salted, the sky a sheet of steel. I parked, stepped out, and everything went quiet except for the trees. I walked the perimeter like I was on a crime scene. Noted the hairline crack in the step, the draft by the kitchen window, the wax ring that should probably be replaced. Then I stood in the living room and watched flakes lean against the glass. I didn't picture my family there. I pictured my boots by that door. I pictured a desk by the window, a coffee maker burbling, a paragraph unspooling while the kettle clicked. I pictured a lock that turned for me and only me. I signed. I asked a lawyer friend to look over the deed and draw up a simple no-guest clause while I was furnishing. Liability stuff, habit from a job where sources vanish and paper saves you. I installed a basic camera system. Nothing flashy, 2 angles, one on the drive, one on the porch. The deputy at the tiny mountain substation recommended a 3rd for the back door. "People love back doors," he said. I added it. I didn't tell Mom. I didn't tell Dad. I definitely didn't tell Jessica. I wanted one clean thing, one quiet place. Christmas morning, I planned to make pancakes and read a long piece I'd been avoiding. That's all. Not revenge, not a show, not a statement. Just pancakes and some snow and the sound of my own name in an empty room that didn't feel empty at all. Christmas morning came soft and white. I brewed coffee on the cranky stove and watched steam blur the glass. My phone buzzed with the family chat photos from Jessica's living room. Matching pajamas, a sign that said family always. Dad's thumb in the corner of every shot. No one texted me directly. I took one photo. The cabin in its first real snow. A blue mug on the sill. Fire in the small black stove. I sent it with, "Merry Christmas from the mountains." Finally did it. Mom, immediately, "You bought a cabin?" Dad, "Looks pricey." Jessica, "Stop. That's adorable. OMG, we need to get away so bad. You're the best for thinking of us. When can we book a weekend?" I stared at her string of exclamation points. My chest went cold, then hot. Me, "It's not a rental." Jessica, "Oh, okay. But like we're family." Me, "I'm spending the winter here. It's not set up for guests." Read. Dad, "We'll chat after the holiday." They chatted 2 weeks later, by showing up. I'd driven down to the general store for groceries. When I came back, I saw them instantly. Tire tracks clawing up my drive. Fresh boot prints stamped deep. On my porch rail, a smear where someone steadied themselves. I unlocked the door and the hairs on my neck rose for no reason I could explain. On the mat lay a folded note in Mom's hand. We popped by. Jessica loved it. She and Brandon really need a reset, and we thought a few months out here would be healing. We brought a locksmith since we couldn't find your spare, but we didn't go in. Call us to coordinate keys. Hugs and kisses. We brought a locksmith. I checked the porch camera. There they were at 11:42 a.m. Mom in a puffer. Dad in his old beanie. Jessica in white boots. Brandon behind them holding a toolbox he clearly borrowed for the costume. A van. A guy in a hoodie with a coil of tools. The locksmith. The footage showed Dad trying my handle. Mom waving her hands. Jessica filming a tour like an influencer. Brandon shrugging as the locksmith bent toward my lock with practiced hands. The video ended because my notification storage filled up. My stomach flipped. I called my lawyer. I called the sheriff's substation. The deputy who'd recommended the backdoor camera picked up on the second ring. "Name?" he asked. "Matt." "Address?" I gave it. He whistled low. "Yeah, I know the place. You've got them on camera." "3 angles," I said. "A locksmith, too." "Save the footage to a drive," he said. "Don't send it anywhere yet. I'll come by." I made tea. I didn't drink. I sat at the little table and counted my breaths. My phone lit up. Mom, 6 missed calls. Dad, 4. Jessica, 3. A text from Brandon. "Dude, we were just trying to help you not be alone." The deputy's knock was steady. He watched the clips, expression flat, then said, "Family or not, trying to defeat a lock is attempted unlawful entry. Say the word and we file." He gave me a card. "If they come back, call while they're here. Don't go out alone." I looked at the note on the mat. I thought about every, "you don't need much," I'd swallowed. Something settled inside me like a brick finally finding the bottom. I texted the group, "Don't come back. You're on camera." I've spoken to a lawyer and a deputy. They did not take that well. Mom called first. Sweet voice turned up to 11. "Matt, darling, why escalate? We didn't go in. We just, Jessica is fragile. She needs a quiet place. You're all about mental health, right?" I said, "You brought a locksmith to my door." "Oh, stop being literal," she snapped, sugar cracking. "We were trying to plan. Family shares." Dad left a voicemail that began, "Son, don't be a jerk," and ended, "You've never understood generosity." Jessica sent a paragraph. "You're acting like some internet billionaire guarding a yacht. You have a cabin. We are drowning. It would cost you nothing to help. We'd leave it better than we found it. You owe me for all the times I went to your boring readings." I stared at that last line for a long time. "You owe me." My lawyer Sarah wrote a letter that said in the calm voice of the law, "Any attempt to access the property without the owner's consent will be treated as trespass with supporting video evidence." She suggested I send a copy to the locksmith's company. I did. They called to apologize within an hour. We were told it was a lockout situation by the owners, the manager said. We'll flag the number. That night, Dad texted me a photo of Jessica crying on a couch. Mascara smudged like a stock image. This is what you're doing to your sister. I didn't reply. I scrolled back through old messages. Can you spot $200? Do you have a spare air mattress? We need a ride share from the airport at 1 a.m. Can you? Oops, forgot my wallet. I stopped at a picture of Jessica at 19 holding up my press badge because it makes me feel important. I let the screen go dark. The next morning, I drove down to the substation with a box of donuts. The deputy, McCarthy, name tag slanted, watched the footage again and printed the complaint form. You don't have to file, he said. Sometimes just having the paper freaks people into behaving. I filed quietly, not to blow up Christmas in July, to make sure my lock meant what a lock is supposed to mean. Days passed. The mountain routine rooted in me. Coffee, words, walks down the crunching drive. A fox at dusk. I changed the porch light to a motion sensor and replaced the back plate on the deadbolt because the locksmith's pick had left a scratch that only I would ever see. Then came the surge. 22 missed calls while I was on a phone interview. 17 texts. Mom, Dad, Jessica, and a group message called Family Real. Brandon, of course, renamed it. The texts moved in waves. Guilt, anger, bargaining. Mom, we made mistakes, but you're taking things too far. Dad, real men don't hide behind cops. Jessica, we found a tenant for your place. You could make $2,000 per MO, so just let us stay there the first quarter and we'll manage it. Brandon, we'll do a revenue share. 70/30ths. We handle cleaning. I laughed out loud. Alone in my kitchen. Brandon trying to monetize my front door like he'd drawn it on a whiteboard. Sarah said, do not respond to business proposals. Do not negotiate by text. She added in a softer voice, your boundaries don't need a pitch deck. I kept writing. I learned to love the clank of the stove when the cast iron settled. I bought a hook for my keys by the door and hung them there every time like a ritual. I put my name on the mailbox in straight black letters. The first piece of mail addressed to me at that address was a credit card offer. The second was a local paper. I smiled anyway. A week later, the deputy rolled by on a slow afternoon. Your folks swung past town, he said like he was mentioning weather. Asked at the diner if there's a hardware store that copies keys. People talk in places like this. Just so you know. Thanks, I said. It landed like a warning bell. I bought new locks, high-security ones with key control. I kept the receipt. I took pictures. It felt silly and adult and necessary all at once. The final surge came on a Sunday night, 9:14 p.m. The cameras pinged. Twin headlights slid across the trees. A familiar SUV. Then Jessica's white boots on my steps. Brandon behind her, hood up. Mom in the passenger seat holding her phone like a weapon. The locksmith van did not appear this time. I didn't open the door. I called McCarthy. They knocked. They called my name through the wood. Matt, we know you're in there. Stop being theatrical. McCarthy's cruiser turned up the drive in a slow, careful rise. He stepped out and greeted them like he greets weather. Evening. Mom went wide-eyed. We're just here to talk to our son from the porch, he said, which is private. Jessica folded her arms. He's making this a scene. McCarthy said nothing. He just stood where they could see the badge, where they could feel the difference between family and law. I opened the door then, not wide, just enough. I kept my voice low, steady. Leave. Jessica blinked hard. You would really rather call the police on us than share an empty cabin? It isn't empty, I said. I'm in it. Mom's jaw trembled. You've changed. Yes, I said. I have. Brandon tried to smile like we were boys in on a joke. Come on, man. Let's be reasonable. We'll be reasonable by email, I said, through my lawyer. Jessica's face hardened into something old. You owe us. There it was, spoken out loud on my porch. No, I said, I don't. She looked at McCarthy, waiting for him to take her side because adults in uniforms had always belonged to her. He didn't. He tipped his hat toward the drive. Let's not make paperwork out of thin air. They left slowly, like pulling off a bandage they wanted to keep. Back inside, I leaned my forehead against the cool wood of the door. My hands shook. I let them. Then I made tea and sat at the table and wrote down exactly what had happened. Time stamps, phrases, where Jessica stood, where Mom's phone pointed. The shake in my voice that steadied mid-sentence. Sarah called the next day. You don't have to escalate, she said. But you also don't have to explain. What do I do with the quiet? I asked. Fill it with your life, she said. Spring found the porch. Snow slipped off the roof in tired sheets. I learned the exact time the sun licks the ridge. How the light lands on my desk like a promise. I turned in a story I was proud of. I slept like a person who trusts his own locks. Mom mailed a card at Easter. On the front, lilies. Inside, a photo of the family at Jessica's table. A note in looping pen. You'll always have a place here when you're ready to stop being stubborn. No apology, just an invitation to erase all the parts that made me inconvenient. I slid the card under a paperweight and left it there, not to brood, to remember what words look like when they're trying to move the goalposts. Over the summer, I ran into quiet people. The guy at the feed store who knows every rattling sound a truck can make. The librarian who puts aside the paper for me. The diner waitress who calls me city and tops my mug before I ask. I started to feel known by name, not by role. A cousin texted me in July. Group chat says you went nuclear. True. I replied, I changed my locks and kept my keys. He wrote, wish I had your guts. I wrote, it's not guts. It's paperwork and a decision. Jessica posted a paragraph on Instagram in August about forgiveness and family first. I read it, scrolled on, chopped an onion for dinner, and cried only because the onion was fresh. Sometimes at night, the old reflex taps. I imagine Mom's hurt voice. Dad's disappointment. I picture myself caving. Then I look around, my mug on my table, my notebook open to a clean page, the porch light blinking on when a moth gets ambitious. I breathe in that cheap pine cleaner I like. And I remember ease is not the same as peace. I kept one sentence from that winter and wrote it on a sticky note above my desk. This isn't about payback. It's about boundaries. It keeps me honest. I didn't buy a cabin to punish anyone. I bought a cabin because I am a person and people get to have doors that close. I'm Matt, 31, journalist, oldest, former background character. I still carry jumper cables in my trunk. I still bring paper towels, but I don't hand over my keys. Not to guilt, not to noise, not to the past. The cabin isn't a symbol. It's wood and screws and a stove that huffs when the pan is cold. It's also where my name on a deed taught me what my name is worth. I don't need much. That was their line. Here's mine. I need what's mine to be mine. And when the first snow of the new year dusts the porch, I'll make pancakes again. I'll send no photos to any group chat. I'll sip coffee, open a new document, and write the headline only I need to read. I wasn't alone. I was home.